Welcome to the Redeemer Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and today we are continuing our alumni series. Oh, I've been enjoying checking in with all these Redeemer alumni and seeing what God's been doing, and this episode is no exception. We have a great interview with Alissa, who's a graduate of our Biochem program, brings lots of insight into the program, and also shares an incredible testimony of what God's been doing in her life post-Redeemer. So I'm excited for you to check it out. If it is your first time here, make sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and check out some of our other episodes that explore various aspects of Redeemer, Christian education, and so much more. Thank you for making us part of your day. And with that, here we go. Alissa, welcome into the Redeemer Podcast. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, Zach. How are you?
I'm excited to talk about you. I'm so thankful that you're here today, and we can talk about your experience in the biochemistry program, and just it's a pleasure to have you on today's podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here for sure.
Yeah. Well, Alissa, again, most of our viewers are, prospective students or parents, or sometimes it is, people within the Redeemer community. So could you just give a bit of an introduction to yourself? What did you study at Redeemer, and when did you start and when did you graduate?
Yeah. So I studied biochemistry at Redeemer. It was one of their new-ish science programs, and I started in 2019 and I graduated in 2023.
Okay, yeah, so pretty recently. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And when you look back to, if you can think back to when you were in high school, what made you decide to study biochem and in turn study it at Redeemer University?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved science ever since I was in elementary school. And I knew I was very good at it. So I was actually a bit indecisive, though, because I had a lot of other interests, such as the arts or psychology. They were all different kinds of things that I was really interested in. So I had a really difficult time deciding. And I ended up taking a gap year to figure out what I wanted. I applied for other schools, but in the end, they just didn't. There's just something felt off about it. I had a lot of prayer, and I just felt as though God was not leading me to those schools. And during my gap year, it was a few of my friends who decided to go to Redeemer who came up to me and said, "You should look at this school. It's a Christian school and they have a science program there." And I was like, "Oh, this is exciting. Like, I really want to learn science, but I also care about my faith and I want to know science from a Christian perspective." And looking into it, it was just an answer to my prayers at the time. And I just took the leap of faith and decided to apply and accept for Redeemer. And yeah, that's how it all started.
Oh, thank you that's so exciting. And I'm excited to talk about, what you're doing now and kind of, post, Redeemer. But before we do, could you just talk a little bit about your experience in the biochem program? Do you remember, what was your first year like and throughout the program?
Yeah, biochem, it's definitely a bit of, right word, sorry.
That's okay.
Biochem is like a difficult program, so it was definitely intimidating. And one thing I love about Redeemer is that they start to do your lab in first year, and a lot of schools don't do that. So because they have since it's a smaller school, they're able to do things that bigger schools can't. And one of those things is to do labs from first year on. And the thing about doing labs straight out in first year is that you're very, very unpracticed. You don't really know what you're doing. I was a very clumsy person. So, a lot of my labs in first year ended up being like spilling and breaking things. And I remember first year I was actually feeling quite a bit of doubt because I was wondering, am I even good for science? Am I too clumsy for this? But one thing I would say to any science student entering Redeemer or any other school even is don't have that don't have that idea in your head, it's stopping you from really doing well, is that it
Mhm.
just takes time and practice. And I did get so much better in the lab. And because I've had so much more experience and time to improve, and it just kind of starts like that with everybody. Like everyone starts out feeling a little bit uncertain, but I love that about Redeemer so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to ask, well, thank you for sharing, but do you remember what some of those first experiments you did in the labs at Redeemer are?
Yeah, I do. I remember a lot of I loved the experiments. They were fun. I know that we did quite a few dissections in first year, which was interesting. I had my program was more chemistry focused, so a lot of my biology courses were in the first 2 years, and that was where we kind of did petri dishes, working with cells and looking at microscopes, which was fun. Chemistry is always very difficult. You have to be very, very specific, but just know that like everyone makes mistakes in
Yeah.
chemistry. It takes time to get better at that, and it takes time to get good results. You'll find that you'll get a smaller yield than you want all the time. But it's still I love the crystallization labs where you could see kind of these crystals forming in your glass. You work with a lot of different interesting chemicals. I found that really, really fun.
Okay. And do you, thinking back to your 4 years, not just first year, but second, third, and fourth, do you have some of your favorite courses that stick with you? This is one of my favorite questions to
Yeah.
ask in these interviews because it's always interesting.
Yeah, definitely. There's some courses I really loved, and I guess one that sticks out to me is there's a course in my third year, I think. It was called The History and Philosophy of Science, and
Oh,
Dr. Brower led it. And the way he led that course was super, super good because it's what made Redeemer kind of special from other schools is that we learned about the connection of religion and science because
mm,
there's a huge misunderstanding and sometimes in Christians where there, especially where I grew up, there was kind of like a distaste towards science because of, there's some things that they would disagree with and they won't even want to touch topics such as
yeah,
evolution. They don't even want to touch the topics that might make you doubt. But what I loved about Redeemer is that we got into the hard topics. We talked about
yeah,
them. We looked at it and we looked at different perspectives. And I even still have some of the books that we read in that course because I loved the books that we read and I kept them because I just found them super nice. And I don't believe in avoiding questions just because
yeah.
you're afraid of how they might make you feel. It's important, I think, to connect that science and Christianity are actually very connected. One thing that Redeemer really taught me is that God created the Bible, but then also had created the world. So not only can we know God better by reading the Bible, we can also know God better by looking at the world and researching the world and just seeing how He created everything so amazing and beautiful.
That's fantastic, and that is the type of education that you get at a Christian institution like Redeemer University. Oh, thanks for sharing, Alyssa. That's really cool. So, eh, are there any other courses that stick out to you at all?
I mean, I loved a lot of my courses. I can't really complain. I mean, some of them were easier than others, of course, but I
Yeah.
liked the challenges too. I think one course that surprised me was toxicology.
Oh,
The prof who taught that did his PhD in toxicology, and I found that one actually very interesting because it was not something I ever really learned about.
yeah.
Um, I also just love the environmental science aspect, which is something I never thought I would love. Like I was never interested in environmental science growing up, but Dr. Berkelaar as well, just like
Mm.
really, really taught that well, and he showed how we had a lot of in-person experiences, like we did field trips and stuff, and that was really, really fun. So I think that those were some courses I really enjoyed for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, well, that definitely, excited to continue to explore that. So we've talked about kind of your experience in the biochem program, and I'm sure you could talk for hours about, what went on there. But could you talk about your experience as a student at Redeemer? And, were you nervous coming into the Redeemer community? I know you mentioned you had friends that were coming to Redeemer, so it was kind of a shared experience for you. But yeah, what was your experience like as a biochem student at Redeemer?
Yeah, when I came to Redeemer, I was very nervous for sure. I kind of grew up in private schools my whole life, so I didn't ever have a big school. So even though Redeemer is a small university, it was still big for me,
Yeah.
and it was something new. And I was very, very nervous, and I loved though that I got to meet lots of people with different backgrounds, and there was a lot of interesting. It was more diverse than I was expecting, and I liked that a lot.
Mhm.
It was a nice to meet a lot of people from around the world, and also I think the biggest thing for me at Redeemer is that I kind of came in with very like low self-confidence, I would say. One thing that Redeemer really helped me is that the teachers especially are so involved, and I
Yeah.
love that so much because I as time went on, I became so much more confident. Like if you look at me now versus when I entered university, it is so different, and I honestly think that a lot of it had to do with the support that I was given at Redeemer through the teachers and also even some of the other staff there. They just really care about their students. And I was provided with opportunities to go to conferences. I provided opportunities to work under profs and do all of these things that were outside of my comfort zone, but I found a confidence inside of myself that I didn't even know was there, and I found a strength that was inside of myself, and that I learned so much about myself, and I think that was the best part about coming into the school is all the opportunities you get because of being a small school. The teachers are more attentive to you.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Oh, Alyssa, thank you for sharing. And I'm so happy that you were able to kind of articulate what the Lord did through coming to Redeemer and just your experience as a student and in the program. That oh it I'm almost I'm taken back. I really am. And so thank you for sharing. I'm very happy for you that you gained that confidence. Um, that being said, I would love if we could. I always love a little bit of a story time. Do you have any favorite memories, with friends or experiences in your time at Redeemer?
um, I think like there's a lot. There's it might take me a moment to think about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Um, I think like one thing about the area that you live in is there's a lot of hiking places around. There's a lot of nice waterfalls, a lot of nice hills. I think that's what's really nice is that there's a lot you can do with your friends in that area, even though Hamilton is not like the most glamorous city. Is there's still like a lot you can do with your friends, and like there's the area we are in is outside of Hamilton, so there's a lot of nature as well, which I
Yeah,
really like, and that's nice. So I think some of the best experiences I had are just kind of the spontaneous ones that I've had with my friends. Um, when you're stressed out from your exams, the best part is that you have other people on your side and, some people in different programs. Actually, I tried to make a lot of friends in multiple programs because I love to hear from other people's perspectives. I love to because everyone thinks a little bit differently, especially when you're in different programs. So it's really
yeah,
interesting just to talk to people and learn about how they think and have those conversations. But yeah, to spontaneously just go. And I think one time, if I'm thinking of a specific time, me and my friends went on this hike and we were all just stressed from exams. And we were tired. We kind of cooped up in the house studying. And we're like, we need to just go out and like do something. So we went on this hike, and then we just went swimming. And we didn't even plan to do it, but we saw like this lake, this little waterfall lake. And I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it was like we just kind of randomly jumped in, and then we were like soaking wet for the rest of the hike. But it was just fun to do something a little bit outside of your studies, get a little break,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, break the routine. Nothing wrong with that. Well, Alissa, so again, thank you so much for sharing. So let's check in a little bit here. This is one of my favorite parts about this alumni series that we're doing. So you graduate Redeemer, in biochem in 2023. What did life post Redeemer look like for you?
Yeah, I've been on a lot of adventures since then. I think uh, at the last year of university, I was, considering next steps, and I was unsure of what I wanted to do. To be honest, I was considering teaching,
Yeah.
but I didn't really want to go through the 2-year program to then just feel like teaching's not for me. So
Yeah.
I was uncertain of the next steps. And then I saw a booth at Redeemer where they talked about you could go abroad and teach, and you don't need to be qualified teacher. So I was really interested in that, especially because I love to travel and I really wanted to branch out of my small town that I grew up in. I wanted to have a lot more interpersonal experience. I
Mhm.
wanted to grow a lot in um, my communication with other people. So I saw they had an option to go to London, England to teach, and I kind of
Oh.
just I felt I was really excited about the idea, and I was doing a lot of prayer, and and I kind of accepted it, and everything just kind of lined up. Like I remember when I was waiting for my work visa, it was taking so long to the point that it was getting close and I had to leave, and I was stressed out of my mind. And I remember praying about it, and the next day, the visa showed up on my front step. I was like,
Whoa.
amazing. So I
Praise
just
the
felt
Lord.
like everything was lining up. God was just kind of, helping me get the funds I needed to do it, everything. So it was really a cool experience to prepare for that. And yeah, so I ended up working in a school in London for a year and got to, yeah.
And just to check in, so for the timeline, so you graduated
Yeah.
around April 2023.
Yeah.
When did you start when did you actually start teaching in London?
September. So I kind of went straight into it. Yeah.
Okay, so pretty quickly. So it's in 2023 fall. Okay,
Yeah. That,
wow.
yeah. Big year of adjustments for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and could you talk about what was that year, teaching abroad in London, England like?
Yeah, there was so many experience. Like I am very happy I went. I had so many ups and downs,
Mhm.
and I am so happy for both of them because I learned so much. And I know that it started off a little bit difficult. I mean, it's really hard to move to a new country that you don't know anything about. Even though London and England is like kind of similar to Canada, there's still so many differences that you don't
Yeah.
expect, right? So um, it actually kind of started off a bit rocky because I was stressed about finding living, and I kind of just rushed into a living. If I make any advice to anyone who decides to move abroad, just be careful about where you choose to live because there is just,
Okay.
just take the time you need. Don't like make a rash decision out of fear that you're going to be not have anywhere to live. But I did that. So I was worried about not having anywhere to live. So I kind of just agreed to live with, and I ended up being in this house, and it was not a very safe place for me. It was
Yeah.
there was like it was a couple who there was a lot of issues, and it was causing to the point that I was in danger of my safety. And it
Okay.
took me a long time I was trying to find new places to go, but it was just hard to find anything within my budget. But God really moved through me during this time as well, because in my first month, I just started going to this Baptist church in London, and Baptist churches are really rare in England.
Okay.
Um, and it was led by an American pastor. There was like people from all over the world at that church, and they were providing me a lot of support, a lot of advice. And I think it was about November that things in my living situation got really, really bad. And they ended up telling me to move out within a week. So I had nowhere to live for 2 weeks because I had another place lined up, but it wasn't gonna start till like the next month. So the church decided to let me sleep in their building. They
Wow.
heard about the situation and they told me, we have sometimes let people who are in hard situations come and sleep in our building, and they like set up a bed, they set up a little like mini closet for me in the top floor, and I just slept in the church for 2 weeks before I got to move to my new place. So
Wow.
crazy story.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely a difficult period of time, but one thing I did not want to give up. I did not want to let something like that stop me from having a good experience in London and doing what I was there for, because I just knew in my heart that God wanted me there for a reason. So
Yeah.
I stuck it out. I pushed through, and I thankfully God actually reached out. Like he got someone from our church who came up to me and told me they had a place, or they knew somebody who had a place, and the place was perfect. It was within my budget. It was close to the school I was working at. It was close to the church. It was close to everything I needed. So it was perfect. And then I moved in there, and the rest of the year was just really amazing. So
That's an incredible testimony of the Lord's provisions. Wow. Thank you for sharing, Alyssa.
yeah, no problem. Um, I think another thing is that this area in London I was living, it was kind of a rough neighborhood.
Mhm.
One thing about working at the school is I just learned so much. There was so many different people from different backgrounds, a lot of people who are Muslim, a lot of people with different religions, and it was it was really nice to connect with these kids, because I just saw how some kids just grow up with such difficult backstories.
Yeah.
Some of these kids have families who are in gangs. Like there's quite a few gangs in that area. So it was a lot of them just knew violence, and that's how they responded to things. And there was a lot of fights happening at the school. And it was I was honestly happy with working there, because it was nice to just see how like some people grow up in this rough situations. And I do believe that honestly, London is a place that really needs ministry.
Yeah.
Um, and this is something that I want to encourage anyone who is interested in ministry. London is actually a really great place to go, because I think it's often overlooked,
Yeah.
thinking that it's Christian environment, but there is so much needs there, and that was
Yeah.
something that church also showed me. Is they brought in a lot of missionaries, and I sometimes helped out the missionaries when I was in London, because they invited me to go to their mission work on the streets, and they invited me to join them on some of their outreach. And it was a really great experience, and it made me have a big heart for London and
Yeah.
how much help is needed there.
And just to kind of again, thank you for sharing, Alyssa. To kind of bring this back, did did the Lord use any of your experiences and teaching at Redeemer to kind of prepare you for this?
That's a good question. I think so, because I did take one thing is that I know I grew up in a very Christian small town, so I didn't know a lot about other religions. At Redeemer, I took a course called World Religions,
Hmm.
and my purpose was to try and learn more about other religions. And I think it was good that I took that course, because that school had so many Muslim kids, so many different religions, and I just had the background knowledge to learn about that. So that was really helpful. I think just teaching that teaching from love, like
Yeah,
they're all God's children, and to know that God has love for them is something that definitely helps a lot.
definitely. Well, again, thank you for sharing that. And so, Alyssa, I'm curious. So you finish teaching in London, and after your year there, what did you do next? What are you doing now, and what are you looking to do in the future?
Yeah, so I came home about a year ago. My visa expired. But and I think this year I'm just been trying to, make some money so I can, plan for my future a bit. I've been doing I guess I should mention I after working in the school, I did love working with kids. I loved that part of it, but I didn't really like I didn't feel as though it was teaching high school especially, that is the path for me.
Yeah,
I found that I was really missing doing a lot of the research and the stuff from Redeemer, that the things that I did at Redeemer, they were just stuck in my head all year, and I knew I just needed to pursue that. So I came home to kind of reset a bit. Also, it was just a crazy few years. I just needed a little bit of a rest after all of that time. And I just started tutoring, which I actually love tutoring because you
mm,
get to have one-on-one with the kids and it's just more interpersonal. Um, and I've been really enjoying that. That's something that I might can just keep on even in the background as whatever
yeah,
I'm doing in the future. And I'm hoping to mentor. I have a heart for high schoolers and even university kids because I just know it's such a vulnerable time. It's such a confusing time. You're trying to figure out your life, you're trying to figure yourself out, but they just put too much pressure on themselves most of the time. So I'm just
yeah,
there trying to like remind them that you don't have to have everything figured out. Um, but I'm also working as a clerk in the hospital. Um, for labor and delivery unit. And I also recently have been training to do laser therapy, hair
oh,
removal. It's kind of, I just been doing a lot of stuff. I have a lot of interests, right? So I've been doing a lot of things um, that I find interesting. And some of them are kind of just random. Like I also did some catering for somebody because I also love to cook. I love to bake, so I make the whole meal for them. So yeah, it's right now like I love that I can just touch every area that I am interested in. But for future, at the moment, I'm hoping to go back to school. I'm working on just like having money for it right now, and I'm gonna work part time. But yeah, I'm hoping to go back to school and pursue further education. All I know is that after I have all of that, my hopes is like I just grew a heart for London. I'm hoping that maybe one day I can go back and even
yeah.
have more of a missions mindset on it.
Awesome. And for further schooling, like, do you mind me asking what program you're looking to take?
Yeah, I've been looking. I was looking at quite a few things, and I think I was kind of more looking focused on what I did in my biochem. So I worked a lot with DNA and water quality monitoring and microbial research at Redeemer. So that's something that I would probably want to pursue just because I knew I liked it. So sometimes you just gotta like, go for what you know that you enjoyed. And I'm hoping to take. There was one program I was looking at, an epidemiology. Yeah, so to work with bacteria and finding that in water sources was something that interested me. But I have a lot of like open air about that. Sometimes with research, you kind of can see what's out there and see what interests you too.
Yeah, no, there's lots of different masters and PhD programs that
Mhm.
you can kind of look into. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Well, Alissa, I again, thank you so much for coming on here. I always love to kind of end off with this question here is if you were talking to, high school students now, or maybe a student studying another university or college and they're thinking of transferring to Redeemer, what advice would you give for a prospective Redeemer student?
I think the advice I would give is to lean on the benefits of a smaller school. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and Redeemer has a lot of benefits towards it. And there's some things that I wish I even did more. That if I had known when I came in there in the first place. But one thing I would encourage is, especially in science, to get to know the teachers. They have your back. Honestly, they have a little big care for their students. They will help you in opportunities. One thing I did is I was a teacher's assistant at the school for a little bit. I loved doing that. So, especially in later years, when you build connections with teachers, you can be a teacher's assistant, and being able to do that is really nice. It's kind of doing a little bit of work in your area of interest.
Redeemer profs are top tier. Absolutely, that's great advice.
10 out of 10. Okay. But I also would say, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, a lot of first years are so hard on themselves. And I'm like, I remember like when I was a teacher's assistant and I was helping the first years, and how much they just beat themselves up for like making a mistake in the lab. And I was like a little bit laughing because I remember I was like that too. But I just wish that they would be easier on themselves and know that like it's not, it's all learning. You're learning, that's the process of learning. And also, like, I know there's a lot of other benefits that the school provides. So I know that they provide tutoring. I never actually did that. And that's something I wish I did, is that if you are struggling in a course, don't be embarrassed. Go to the free tutoring that they offer.
Yeah.
That is something that, it's good. It's okay to ask for help, it's fine. And also you get 3 free counseling sessions, which I definitely would take advantage of at the school, because that is something that's very helpful. Like, school can be just draining mentally, and it's great to have that option to help you if you're really struggling mentally. And I definitely took advantage of that, and I really enjoyed the sessions that I had. And yeah, I guess just build connections as well. Like, it's a great place to be able to build connections and make friends.
That's fantastic advice. Alissa, thank you so much for sharing it and coming on the Redeemer podcast. It was great checking in with you.
Thank you. It's great to talk to you and give my experience and some advice from my mistakes to the students as well.
Awesome. Well, if you are watching this, thanks so much. Feel free to check out some of our other alumni episodes, or if you want to know more about Redeemer, check out redeemer.ca, and we would be happy to connect with you. As always, God bless, and we will see you in the next episode.